Alright, so yes, the lyrics of that song were beautiful. If the signs are the same, you add the numbers, keep the sign. So we add the 10 and the 12, we keep the negative sign, we get negative 22. Number 2, both negatives again, so add the numbers, keep the sign. Negative 15, very good. Make sure you're filling these out as I go, or you're going to have a whole lot of homework tonight. What is number 3? They're both positives. Just regular old 6, just like you learned to do in first grade. All right, number 4, now the signs are different. When the signs are different, what are we going to do? Very good. Subtract. How do I know which sign to keep? The larger number. Do you need to? Okay. Yes, when the signs are different, you subtract the numbers, you keep the sign of the larger number. So 8 is bigger than 6, right? We have more negatives than positives. So subtract those numbers and keep the sign that's the larger one. All right, so number 4. So if the signs were the same, we would add and keep the sign. But they're not the same. So
is it negative 2?
It is negative 2. Now, when I say the word smallest, I should do it like this, smallest, because a negative is always smaller than a positive. Is that where you're getting confused? It's which one has more. So are there more negatives or are there more positives? In this case, there's more negatives. So yes, I should say a bigger number. All right, number 5. Are there more positives or more negatives? More positives. So my answer is going to be positive.
6.
Positive 6. Wonderful. All right, first 5. What are your questions? Those are all adding. The second column is all subtracting. Remember, subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. So if you are subtracting a 5, it's like adding a negative 5. Okay, so same rules apply. We just subtract the numbers, keep the sign of the larger number. 3. Very good. Sometimes you have to clean your signs up first. What's minus a negative?
Plus a positive.
Yeah, plus a positive. So just make that one big plus sign. What's 8 plus 3? 11. Number 8. 11 minus 15 is kind of like 11 plus negative 15. So are there more positives or more negatives? More negatives. So my answer will be negative
4.
4. Very good. Number 9, you can think of it as it's written on the board, or you can think of it as negative 7 plus negative 5. So they're both negative. We're going farther into the negatives. So add the numbers, keep the negative sign. Negative, what? 12. I thought you said 20. I was like, uh-oh. Negative 12. Very good. And the last one, kind of putting a couple of these subtraction rules together. What is minus a negative?
Plus a positive.
Plus a positive. So now I have a negative plus a positive.
Negative 9.
Oh, careful. The 3's positive now.
Negative 3.
Negative what?
3.
3. Very good. Now, if it would have been negative 6 plus negative 3, that's how we'd get negative 9. But since we had 2 negatives, it turns into a positive 3. All right, so how do you feel about this statement now? I can add and subtract sign numbers. Who feels like they could say that proudly, honestly? I can add and subtract positive and negative. You can't? Okay, if you are someone sitting there saying, oh, God, I cannot. You need to spend some time reviewing these concepts before finals. You have 17 days until this final. Okay, I will slow down. Next time you just say, hey, Speedy Gonzalez, slow down. Okay? Beautiful. Love it. So, what is positive 5 times positive 6? Positive 30. Very good. What is negative 4 times negative 4?
16.
positive 16. A negative times a negative is a positive. Different house. How you doing? Good, okay. Number 13, we have a negative 25 divided by positive 5.
Negative.
That's a negative. When you have one of each, your answer is negative 5. Very good. Number 14, one of each again. Negative times a positive. Both 3s. Negative 9. Very good. And number 15, we have negative 4 times negative 6.
24.
Positive 24.
So, basically, like if one of the numbers got a negative, it don't matter if it's a bigger or a smaller number, you still make it.
Right. Bigger or smaller, other house.
Okay.
Okay?
That's simple. I know how to do those two. I can do those
Okay,
two.
these are really tricky. You feel confident in these?
I got that.
All right, I want you to raise your hand if you know which number will have a positive answer. Which one? 16 or 17? One's positive, one's... Oh, raise your hand. 17. 17 is going to be a positive answer. Raise your hand if you can explain why. Yes.
Because the negative sign's inside the parentheses.
The negative sign is inside the parentheses, which means you have, since the exponent's 2 of them. You have a negative times a negative, which is a positive. Very good. The negative in number 16 is not inside the parentheses. When it is not inside the parentheses, it has nothing to do with the exponent. A negative out front of a problem is sort of like a negative 1. So this is kind of like a negative 1, and then you have 2 5s. So that would be 25, and then you have the negative 1, so it would be negative 25. Now, this is kind of tricky, but someone earlier held up a calculator like I don't even need the rules because I have the calculator. True story. The calculator knows the difference between 16 and 17. You need to know how to type it in, though. Number 16, just like you see it, negative 5 squared equals. It knows that that is 5 squared, then a negative. If you type it in on number 17, you hit parentheses, negative 5, close the parentheses, then you square it. It can distinguish which one is which. So if you're like, I'm never going to know the difference, just practice it on the calculator. Yes, ma'am.
So the negative is not in parentheses with 5, then you put a 1 in front of the negative.
Think of it like a negative 1. And then that is a separate number than the exponent. It has nothing to do with the square.
So you gotta put like negative 1, parentheses, 5, parentheses, square.
You could do it like that too, yeah.
Then you'll give it right here.
Or you could just not type in any parentheses at all.
Which is negative 1.
I wouldn't even use the negative 1 if you're using the calculator.
But it's 5.
Just the negative sign, the 5, the squared. It'll know. All right, 16 and 17 were really tricky. Any questions on the two of those? All right, jump to 18. 3 times 4. 12. 19, negative 80 divided by negative 8.
10.
Positive 10, very good. And number 20, is 12 divided by negative 6, which is negative 2, very good. Before you move on, I want you to notice a couple of other things. There are 3 different ways, well, I guess technically 4 different ways to write multiplication on the board. You can use one set of parentheses, you can use 2 sets of parentheses, you can use a dot, or you can use an exponent. All of those things meant multiplication. You need to be able to switch out those signs in your head real quick. Any questions? There's 2 ways to write division on the board as well. You can use this fraction bar, or you can use the old school division sign that you probably learned in grade school. These mean the same thing as well. You should be able to interchange those in your head. What are your questions? All right, so I can multiply and divide sign numbers. Next, I can use the order of operations. So, before I can do it, I need to know what it is. Raise your hand if you can refresh my memory on the order of operations. Yes, ma'am.
Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
So, please is the P, excuse, then my dear
Yeah.
Aunt Sally. Okay, what does that stand for?
Parentheses and expo,
She's got it. Parentheses, exponents.
multiplication, division, and adding and subtracting.
Very good. As you write this, I want you to multiply. I want you to underline M and D with an arrow and A and S with an arrow. You are multiplying and dividing at the same time from left to right. Don't multiply, then divide. It's at the same time from left to right. Same thing with adding and subtracting, so don't be tricked by that. All right, 21. I have a plus sign and a division sign. Which one needs to go first? The divided by. Good. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I'm going to write a new problem with the 12 divided by 4 written as a 3. Don't try to do steps in your head. That's how students mess this up. What is 8 plus 3? 11. Very good. All right, number 22 is all multiplication. When it's all multiplication, you just work left to right. What is negative 3 times negative 3? Positive 9. Very good. What is positive 9 times negative 4?
Negative 36.
Negative 36. Beautiful. Questions? All right, number 23 is kind of tricky. Remember that this big old fraction bar can sort of represent parentheses. It basically is telling you you can't divide until you have one number up here and one number down here. So it's sort of like parentheses on the top and parentheses on the bottom. You cannot start dividing until there's one number up top and one number on the bottom. What is 15 plus 3? 18. So I have an 18 on the top. What is 7 minus 1? And now you can do the dividing. Anyone have a final answer for me? 3. Very good. $24. 4 minus 3 times 2 plus 8. 3 times 2. You want to multiply first. Good. 4 minus 6 plus 8. What will I do next?
4 minus 6.
It's a division first, 6 plus 8.
Can anyone defend their answer?
Oh, wait, no.
Yes.
Alright.
Defense.
It goes from left to right.
Oh, so even though the A comes first in the order of operations, I'm going to subtract first because I'm working left to right. Is that what you said? Yes? Does anyone agree? Disagree? Want to argue back? She is absolutely correct. Addition and subtraction happen at the same time from left to right. This is a lot trickier than it looks. This is a problem that would get a lot of people for that very reason. You cannot add that 6 and the 8 until you subtract up front. All right, so what is 4 minus 6? And what is negative 2 plus 8?
4.
Oh,
6.
6. Very good.
What if the plus was in the front?
Then you do it first. You just go from left to right, just the way you read. Like you're reading a book. All right, what do you guys need? Anything? Questions? All right, let's keep it going then. Number 25. What is negative 8 plus 2 times 4? Where do I want to start?
2 times 4.
2 times 4 is? Negative 8 plus 8 is? 0. Questions? All right, 26.
36.
Yeah, we do parentheses first. Inside the parentheses, we have some subtractions. So 3 minus 8 is negative 5. 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. Questions? All right, 27.
3 squared.
Yeah,
That's 9.
good. So I have 7 minus 9.
Negative 2.
Negative 2. Phenomenal. Last one, 1 minus 4.
Negative 3.
Negative 3. All right, yes, correct. Exponents before multiplying. Now this is kind of tricky. We haven't looked at a lot with the 3 as the exponent. What does that mean if there's a 3 as the exponent? It's cubed. What does that mean to be cubed? Yeah, you're multiplying negative 3 times, which is negative 27. Good. If you're a little fuzzy on that, I'll write it off to the side here. You have negative 3 times negative 3, which is a positive 9, and then times another negative 3. You need 1, 2, 3 negative 3s. That's negative 27. All right, I'm running out of space. That silly hand on the bottom always gets me. Negative 108 is our answer for that one. There's a 1 there. This board always gets me too. Questions? I can use the order of operations. Questions? All right, I can substitute values in for variables. So, just a couple quick notes. One of the biggest problems I see in this section is that students don't know what to do after they plug something in, because they don't use parentheses. Anytime you are plugging a number in, I want you to put that number in parentheses. So like if you're putting in a negative 4, write it in parentheses negative 4. Don't just write 4, then you just have a string of numbers next to each other with no understanding of what operation or sign is with which number. Okay? So put it in parentheses. The other thing I see is that students forget to take the X part out. Just like in basketball, if you're substituting in for another player, you don't get to both play. One has to come out and then one goes in. Right? We have a substitute in the room right now. We don't have Miss Ricker and Miss Zena. We have one or the other. One leaves, one comes in. Okay? That's what substituting is. You can't have an X and a negative 4. You have one or the other. Any questions on what it means to substitute? One comes out, one goes in. One comes out, one goes in. Questions? All right. So, number 29. We have the 2. The X comes out. Blow the whistle in the basketball game. I think that's how you sub, right? I don't know basketball. Do they blow a whistle? Okay. Toot toot. X, you're out. Who's in?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. Okay. Y, you're out. Who's in?
5.
5. Very good. Now you just follow the order of operations.
Negative 40. 2 times 4.
Slow it down over there. 2 times negative 4 is what? Negative 8 times 5 is negative 40. So again, X's are gone, Y's are gone, these numbers are in, they're in parentheses so we know what to do with them. If you write this as 2, negative 4, 5 right on top of each other, it looks like 2 minus 45. Okay, you can't do that. Use parentheses. What are your questions? All right, we already talked about a negative out front of a problem is like having a what? A negative out front is like having a what? A negative 1. So I have a negative 1 in the front. Then X is out. What's in?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. Y is out. What's in?
5.
Z is out. What's in? 2. Order of operations of this guy.
Negative 1
-1 times
times
-4.
negative 1 times 4.
4. Working left to right. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 2 is... Oh, 40, I think. Did I miss one? What are your questions? I got a little speedy there. I will pause. Don't want anyone to fall behind. Are we good? All right, number 31. Again, X is out. In its place, we will put a -4. -4 times -4 is... Hold on, I heard something I wasn't... -4 times -4 is what? 16. A negative times a negative is a positive. Be careful. A negative in front is like a what? A what? A -1. So I have -1. In parentheses, I'll have whatever x is, and then on the outside of those parentheses, I'll have a squared. What goes in there? -4. You're saying we do multiplying before we do exponents according to the order of operations? You still follow this order of operations. They haven't gone anywhere. -4 times +16. Then what? Now you multiply. What's your overall answer here? -16. Phenomenal. What are your questions? Oh, that silly thing. Hold on. Sorry, I hate that thing. All right, number 33. Now, if the problem has parentheses, you need to keep those. So I'm going to have parentheses, and then inside parentheses, whatever y is, and then inside parentheses, whatever z is, and then close the big parentheses, and then a squared. Lots happening here. What goes in the y parentheses? 5. What goes in the z parentheses? 2. Now, really, in this case, these parentheses aren't super important because they're both positives and they have an operation in between them. It's a subtraction. So if you forgot them, not a huge deal, but sometimes it is a huge deal. So just get in the habit of using them. All right, lots going on. What do I do first? 5 minus 2. So that's 3, and then I have 3 to the second power, which is 9. Very good. All right, same thing on 34. I've got this random negative sign that I'm not sure what to do with. Ideas? Yeah, make it a -1. Both of you are correct. And then in parentheses, I have -4 in another little set of parentheses. Then I have my y in parentheses. That's a 5. Close them up. Close them up. Lots of parentheses. All right. Double parentheses here. That should be where we start. What's -4 times 5? -20. So I have -1 times -20. 20. All right, hopefully you're all saying in your head, wow, I can substitute values in for variables. Questions? All right, let's keep going. I can combine like terms. So, important things to remember when you are combining like terms. They have to be like terms. What do they have to have in common to be like terms? Yes, it is variables. What kind of variables? Just any old variables? If it matches, very good. They have to match. I'm assuming Colin meant they have to have the same variable and the same exponent. Is that what you meant by matching? Shake your head, yes. Yes, yes it is. Okay, so same variable, same exponent on these in order to add them. Do I have that in problem 35?
Yeah.
I do. They're both x's. What is that first one, though? There's no number. 1. Again, the 1 will help us out. 1x plus 12x is 13x. Don't change the variable at all. Don't make it an x squared or something silly like that. You're just adding the coefficients. Those are the numbers in the front. You're keeping the variable the same. What are your questions? All right, 36. What am I going to do?
Add the 1 in front of the B.
Put the 1 in front of the b.
And then 9B.
Yeah, this becomes a 9b plus 1. And then I add those together and I get 10b. No. Good. Very good. You cannot add these. This one has a b. This one does not. What are your questions?
So we're supposed to subtract. Or just leave it like that.
You just leave them like that. You cannot combine them. They're not like terms. Now, we're going through all these things to prepare for the final. So I am going to sort of give you a little hint on the final. Your final is multiple choice. Now, I pride myself at being an expert of making up really, really convincing wrong answers. Okay? So, number 36, for example. Maybe that's one of your options. Maybe another option is 10b. Maybe another option is, what would be another good one? 9b for getting the 1. And yeah, 8 might work because if you accidentally added and then subtracted and did the wrong like terms. Okay, so I can get on board with that. 8b. Oh, another one might be like 11b plus 1 if you added them. So a lot of students, when they hear multiple choice final in their head, they say, woohoo, I don't have to study because I'll obviously know. My teacher will give me obvious answers, right? I am not that person, okay? I spend hours thinking of all the mistakes you will make and precisely planning the wrong answers, okay? So make sure you are studying and don't fall into my little traps, okay? Questions on any of that? All right, that's not super important for right now, just kind of looking forward.
That makes me want to study even more.
That was the point of the lecture. Thank you. All right, number 37. 3 plus 4 plus... Yeah, these are all like terms, so just add them. 3 plus 4 plus 2, you can do that in your head. 9x, y. Good. All right, lots going on this right column. Where should I start on 38? 3x squared goes with which one? 2x squared. The x squareds go together to give us 5x squared. Wonderful. The x's, so I'll have 7x, and that's positive, so plus 7x. And then I have the 5 and the 4, which gives me a plus 9. Very good. Oh, sometimes students forget the plus sign, so I might have that as an option too, like 5x squared, comma 7x, comma 9. Who knows? Be aware. Any questions? Yes, sir.
So you don't have to solve them?
There's no equal sign, so we're not solving it. That's chapter 3 stuff. This is just simplifying it as much as we can. So yes, that's actually a tough skill, is knowing when to stop. You have to stop right here. All right, all the terms are combined. There's no equal sign, so we can't get x by itself. We're good. Very good question. All right, 39. Again, we have some x squared, so we'll start there. Here's where it gets a little tricky. That negative stays with the 2. Okay, this is a 5x squared minus 2x squared.
So this would be negative 7 is
Oh, the 5's positive. So it's just 5 minus 2, which is 3x squared. Good. All right, next we have 3x and, oh, there's no number there. Shoot. Oh, it's a 1. Okay. So 3x squared minus 1. No. Back it up. 3x minus 1x. 2x. Positive, so put a plus sign. Blue. Okay.
5.
Negative 4 and positive 1. You got to keep that negative with the 4. What's negative 4 plus 1? Negative 3. So you would put a minus 3. You could also put plus negative 3 if you want, but on the final, that won't be an option. Plus a negative. I'll clean it up as much as possible, so you need to know it's the same thing. Questions? All right, let's keep it moving. Where do you want to start on 40? There's a couple different places you could start. 2a, so the 2a's. So negative 2a squared minus a squared, that will make that a 1.
3a squared.
Very good. Negative 3a squared. Good. We can just go in order. We'll do the AB's next. So negative 2AB plus 1AB. Careful.
Oh no.
Negative 2 plus 1.
Negative 1.
Negative 1. So negative 1AB, which is the same thing as negative AB. And last one, we have the b squared. So 1b squared minus 9b squared. What's 1 minus 9?
8. Negative 8.
Negative 8. So you need that negative with the 8. So minus 8b squared. And your questions are? All right, you ready to finish this up? I can simplify expressions using the distributive property. Anyone remember this guy? How do I do it?
3 times 6 and
Yes. Distributing is basically just multiplying twice. So this is going to be 3 times 6a. Keep the plus sign. 3 times 5. That gives me 18a plus 15. Now, if you're someone who's been like A on chapter 1, A on chapter 2, and like just cranking out the good grades, I don't need to see this step, okay? You can be the person that goes right to this. If you've been struggling, don't try to do work in your head. You're just fooling yourself, okay? So just write out as much as you need to. If you're someone who's real quick, can go right to here, great. If you need to write it out, I beg of you, write it out. Trying to skip steps is what gets a lot of you. Write it out. All right, number 42. What am I distributing here? A negative 1. So again, don't try to do this in your head. Write it out. That is negative 1 times 5a minus negative 1 times 2. So I have negative 5a minus, what's negative 1 times 2?
negative 2.
Negative 2. And what's a minus negative?
Plus a positive.
Plus a positive. So this is negative 5a plus 2. This is one where if you don't write it out, you will very, very quickly mess your signs up. And I will be right there with the wrong multiple choice options to fool you, okay? Write it out. Number 42. No, 43. Negative 3 times 1x plus negative 3 times 5. What are you coming up with?
Negative 3x.
Negative 3x
Plus negative 50.
plus negative 15. That will not be an option on your final because I don't write double signs in my problem or in my answers. So what would it look like on the final?
Plus minus 15.
Yeah, I would write it as a minus 15. You need to know that those are the same thing. All right, 44. We have 3 times 9 minus, we have 3 times 7x. Are you doing these?
27 minus 21.
X, very good. Questions? And last, but not least, we have 2 times 5x minus 2 times 2. Uh-oh, what's this guy doing? All right, little order of operations here. Don't start adding that 16x until you clear out all the multiplications. So this is going to be 10x minus 4 plus 16x. Am I done?
No.
No. If there's something that you know how to do, just because the directions didn't say combine like terms, doesn't mean you can just forget that you know how to combine like terms, okay? Do it as much as you can. Simplify as much as you can. So what should this look like?
6x minus 4.
Very good. An echo of correct answers. Raise your hands if you have questions on anything we went over today. All right, we talked about 6 I can statements there on the board. So, can you add and subtract sign numbers? Can you multiply and divide sign numbers? Can you use the order of operations? Can you substitute values in for variables? Can you combine like terms? And can you simplify expressions using the distributive property?
Yes.
If you cannot, I want you to find that I can statement on your review. Put a big star on it. That's what you are going to be studying over the next 3 weeks. Star the ones that you cannot do. Then go back and study those when you're sitting in LS and your teacher's telling you to get something out for the 3rd time. Okay? Make sense? Any questions?